Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Tuesday, September 21st. Glad you could join us. It has been a tumultuous 48 hours, so we definitely wanted to come on and kind of talk through it and explain what's happening. So here we are. We got CJ and Monte, you know them well, our crypto analysts from marketrebellion.com. CJ giving up the green screen today for some very contemporary artwork we see. Can you tell us a little about that, CJ?
There's a rocket ship in the top left. So
that's the best you can do. Don't you have like an art degree?
I have a degree in art, but I tell people it's graphic design focused, so it sounds better. But I ended up in the world of trading somehow.
And now, folks, you realize why CJ is so good at drawing on those charts when he goes over the TA. That being said, just remember, anything Market Rebellion, Trade the Chain, CJ, Monte, myself ever discuss, say, pitch, or whatnot, don't take it as financial advice. It's just us trying to educate the folks. So what do we got? Guys, everybody's worried today. Let's just, delve into it. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. There's a lot of sell-off happening on news from Evergrande and their $300 billion in debt that they're, defaulting on now. And there's a few likely scenarios how this will go. But we saw it come in as an indicator. Take a look at it. But did you guys expect for it to happen so soon, so quickly?
Not this quickly or have this systemic of an impact, because it's essentially Chinese individuals lending to other Chinese individuals. There hasn't been a strong indication that it's got massive contagion. Obviously, though, we are seeing a lot of risk-off behavior. But quite honestly, the equity market, it trended in the development of the situation, but presumably they could intervene to try and provide some stability to the overall market. The thing that I think is interesting when it comes to the United States equity market is that I think this is good in the sense that it gives the Fed and their meeting tomorrow the ability to kick the can down the road and say, look at the instability in the international markets, therefore we're not going to taper. We still don't have enough data, so on and so forth. And so that will be good for Bitcoin and likely the U.S. equity markets. And I do expect a rally going into the rest of the week. I'd say there's probably about a 75 to 80% chance that we see a favorable outcome from that Fed decision or that Fed meeting tomorrow. And really, that's going to be the dictator in my mind for Bitcoin's price action and a lot of the overall assets price action. More data we can get into as well, but that's kind of the general briefing that we can start the show with.
One of the interesting things, though, you see Tether moving into the number 3 spot ahead of Cardano, ADA. And that's an indicator right there, folks. It's a lot of people moving out of positions into what CJ was saying, going risk off on their portfolio right now. So that's what's giving it a big bump. Couple things, just Cardano itself is down almost 5% in the 24 hours. It's almost 5% across the board of some of these favorites that people look at. Terra Luna dropping 8% and Chainlink 7%, Polygon Matic 8%, Aave 7%. Wow. And then another one dropping 10%. But Monte, your take.
Yeah, this has been a crazy start to the week. I agree with everything CJ said. I think tomorrow is going to be a big day. And to the speed at which we saw this market kind of come to a halt this week, I think we can see a similar thing in the opposite direction. We're just seeing a very risk-off attitude right now across the board, like we saw from that sentiment data there. We're seeing it in traditional equities as well. But I think if we do get a favorable outcome, or even just really like CJ put it, the Fed kicking the can down the road tomorrow, I think that could be a catalyst for positive price action. There's just a lot of precarity, uncertainty in the market right now, in traditional equity markets, in the global equity markets, and that's bleeding over into crypto. Like you pointed out, Alex, people are moving into Tether, but I think that if we get a favorable outcome from the Fed meeting tomorrow, which I anticipate we will, I think people will be just as quick to redeploy that capital back into some assets that have come back down to earth. So I think that tomorrow is going to be a big day. but I'm encouraged by the fact that people are moving into Tether. We're seeing a significant amount of supply absorption at the 42K level. I think that bodes well for the overall market, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it.
I do want to try and make a point about that stablecoin demand that you mentioned, Alex, and more Tether being printed. It's interesting because when we saw the May crash, and then pretty much in a 3-week period between May to June, the printing of Tether or the creation of Tether ground to a halt. There was really no Tether printed in that period, even though it was a very bearish period, which is kind of interesting. Also, the printing of Tether I would say in the short term, you are correct in the sense that more individuals are moving towards cash. But if you look at more American-based stablecoins like USDC, they've still remained rather constant. And overall, the stablecoin growth kind of occurs as a result of more demand in the overall cryptocurrency market. We see, the massive supply of Tether increasing during bull markets. So, I think it is a little bit bearish in the short term, but it's just we haven't seen this necessarily before when it comes to Tether printing in preparation of a bearish move.
Yeah, and that's what it's there for. You know what I mean? So the Tether's been a great gateway drug for risk off since the beginning of its invention. There, we're down almost 200 million since where we were about a week or so ago. Mithril dumping 20%. But to your point, if one of the things, Monte, you said about it can go up just as quickly as it goes down. Take a look at the daily sentiment, and there you go. You do have short-term hourly sentiment, going with the neutral to bearish. But here, coins like CeeLo, Litecoin, CeeLo have been very bullish on the daily since this morning. So it does look like there's a possibility of a bounce back rebound as we go through the trading day. So hopefully that is the case on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking to see as well. And one thing I am looking for tomorrow is I think Bitcoin could potentially lead the charge for a rally. It's approaching very critical levels now. It's below 42K, which is very critical, but I am anticipating relentless buying between 42K and 40K. I'd be very surprised if we saw Bitcoin dip below that level in the interim. And I think that once Bitcoin kind of shows some strength, we get a bullish engulfing candle, that will bring back on that risk on attitude. That's going to bode very well for a lot of altcoin performance. So I think that daily sentiment score makes sense. I think that given the fact that tomorrow could be a turning point for the market, people are getting eager, and sitting on your hands is not always all that much fun. So I'd rather be trading.
I agree. One of the things I'd like to, before we get into the business side of things, is just show some people some good opportunity. Look at this. Look at that beauty right there. I mean, look at that. Just got it wrapped today for Vegas, baby. Look at that.
Wow.
DanTeachesCrypto.com. It's going to be sweet. I'm excited. Oh, look at the helmet.
Oh,
everybody loves the helmet. So
I really am a big fan of your logo, the Universal S. I feel like I used to draw that a lot in middle school, but
thank you.
Very, very good branding, and congrats to both yourself and Digital Asset News and Rob over there.
All right, let's get into the business end of things. CJ, you got some charts to lead us off with?
Yeah, let's talk about some critical levels around Bitcoin, what we're seeing, and hit the big boards, as you like to say. All right, so switching it up today, got to go back to dark mode. Thinking at least in the interim. So this was really the critical point, this 42K level, because this is when we made a previous high above our even previous auto rally. You have our selling climax here on the back of that liquidation, and then you have an auto rally to that moving average. And right now, we are back testing that level very strongly. And so I think it's very important that we hold this 41 to 42K level, because it is one of the backbones of the trend. And what you want to see from a bullish perspective here is you want to create a macro higher low at a previous resistance level. This is where we were rejected previously. So from the bullish perspective, and what you want to see in an ideal world is a role reversal at that 42K level or 41 level from previous resistance to now new support. And, I am of the opinion that we will see that. We have not had any type of bullish divergence in the oscillators yet. We're seeing a little bit when it comes to the MACD histogram down there. We haven't made a lower low. However, with the CCI, we have. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of oscillators. But let's talk about candlesticks, the things that really determine price action with the most validity. And what we're experiencing now is a pretty bullish hammer candle. And this wick is being bought up actually pretty decently, as we have a lot of sell volume here. But what I like is that we actually are forming a bullish hammer candle after a steep downtrend. So if you were to look at this from the inverted perspective, it kind of looks like a fractal top. And of course, in this case, it looks like the start of a fractal bottom, in which maybe we create a doji candle after this one, and then a larger candle and a reaction rally back to that moving average. Personally, if I had to put probabilities on it, I would say that there's a 60 to 70% chance that we have a positive outcome from the Fed meeting tomorrow, and we have somewhat of an auto rally to that moving average back up at about 44 to 45K. However, at that point, we're running into a huge amount of resistance. So it's really going to be dependent on buyers stepping in. Something that we saw last night that was pretty tough to watch. I mean, we closed very bearishly last night, but Asia really had a lot of sell pressure. They liquidated a lot of their positions, and they sold into any kind of bullish momentum that was even beginning to form. So I'm going to have to be cautious and watch to see whether or not we do that again tonight. We haven't hit a record level of liquidations. So if more people get levered long here, there could be another flush down. But right now, I am of the opinion that, we're probably going to consolidate and bottom out here at around 41 to 42. I think there's going to be positive news tomorrow. A resistance to tapering, and then kind of an increase in price in Bitcoin. But we'll see.
Let's talk about that for a minute, though. I want you guys both to weigh in on the event happening tomorrow, because it is an event. He's been, a lot of outspokenness coming out of the SEC in Washington as of late. Obviously, we've seen some of that on Twitter with Coinbase and subsequently Celsius as well, with various state regulators. But right now, it seems like there's a lot more confusion than ever going on. And I think it's throwing a couple of platform operators into a frenzy, trying to figure out what the right thing to do is and not do the wrong thing. Is tomorrow's meeting, and I'll start with you, Monte, going to be positive, do you think, for the market? Or is there just going to be a lot more confusion added to the tone of things?
So I think it's going to be positive for the market. I don't think we'll get much in the way of clarity per se, but I do think it's going to be a positive catalyst for market price action. I think that, we won't get a rate hike or anything like that. I think that it will be just an instance of kind of no news is good news here. And I think that the Fed will just, kind of tell everyone to remain calm. The markets will react tomorrow. And that positive performance in traditional equities will bleed over into crypto. So, I don't think we'll get much in the way of regulational clarity yet. Obviously, SEC Chairman Gary Gensler spoke today, and, there wasn't too much takeaway from it. But basically what he said is that cryptos should fall under the guise of securities laws. This is a debate that's been going on since the beginning of crypto. Obviously, it's more relevant than ever now with the recent news with Coinbase. So I don't think we'll get any regulational clarity tomorrow, but I do anticipate it being a positive catalyst for price action.
One of the confusing things, they're trying to grab it, put it under securities law, but it was very early on that the CFTC stepped in, raised their hand, and said, "We're going to take this as a commodity." Now, do you suspect? I do. I suspect there's going to be a little delay in everything on the outside because of maybe some figuring it out on the inside between two, major regulators. Could this be something that delays stuff even longer for clarity?
Yeah, I think it definitely potentially could. And that's okay. I think the clarity will come eventually. I think it's important that they get it right and they don't cast too wide of a net. We've seen how the crypto community reacts when, the government tries to overstep their bounds in terms of regulating crypto. So I think they'll be patient with it, figure out a good way to regulate it. And I'm still of the opinion that that regulation will be good in the sense that it will bring in institutional confidence and bring the market to new highs. So I don't think we're going to get anything anytime soon, but maybe later this year or at the start of the next year, we'll get some regulational clarity finally.
CJ?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo Monty's sentiment in that particular issue. It's this meeting, I do expect it to be positive. Yet I don't think it's going to draw any clarity. I mean, yeah, in my opinion, Bitcoin is clearly a commodity. It's a digital resource that is scarce, that has a very good and utilitarian use case.
14%, 10% in the last, minus 10% in the last 7 days, and down 5% just in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin. I thought we had hit a little bit of a support floor around the 43,000 mark. We've obviously blown through that. We're down to high 41s. Where do you see? Do you think there's a good probability that we do? And CJ, I know you just hit the charts on this, but do you realistically are we going into the 30s before shooting back up to 50?
Well, in order to go into the 30s, I think we would need to see continued sell pressure and fear around Evergrande and the overall equity markets. And I'd like to make a point on the equity markets in just a moment here. But if we just continue to rally throughout the end of the week after this Fed meeting tomorrow, and even if we just go into a neutral consolidation in the equities, kind of like what IWM has done over the past few months, Bitcoin can rally and the fundamentals still remain strong. So I don't think we're in a bear market by any means.
Oh, no. Don't mention that word.
I think that the 42K level, like just because we've gone below the 42K level, let me pull up the chart one more time. Like it only matters if we close below 42. And so last night we closed at about 43. Obviously we did wick down much further and we wick down to like 40,300 tonight, but it only matters, where the closes actually occur when you're looking at the candlesticks. A lot of technicians like to say, amateurs make moves or create the candle wicks, but ultimately the professionals, close the markets and decisions are made based on candle body closes.
All right. Things you're looking at right now, because it is one of those times where people go for buying opportunities. Me personally, I'm taking a look at Luna. It's been hit hard in the short term, and I liked it before. I like it now at this price. That's something I'm taking definitely a peek at. Also, one other, I like Solana, not as much of opportunity, I think, as Luna. Aave, I think, is getting down into some really fair pricing, to be honest. But what are you guys looking at?
Yeah, Alex, I think there are going to be lots of opportunities if we do get what we're anticipating tomorrow, and that's positive news from the Fed. And one asset in particular that I've been looking at that I think could potentially perform very well tomorrow is AVAX. And the reason being is, one, it's held up very well, even amidst relative market weakness that we've seen over the last couple of days. Also, the volume profile since we've had, I talked about this on our cocktail hour last week, but AVAX has been one of the major beneficiaries of the NFT boom and the increase in congestion on the Ethereum network, along with Solana. This thing saw a massive amount of speculation when people were looking for alternative chains to Ethereum during that mass mania period. So now that we've kind of been hindered, this uptrend has been kind of stopped in its tracks by all the uncertainty we're seeing in the global markets. I think there could be an opportunity to enter a trade when this thing breaks above its previous all-time high, because it seems like price is just being a bit compressed by all the fear in the market. And if things were different and there wasn't a major news-related event depressing price, I think that AVAX would be continuing to climb into its all-time highs. So given what we're seeing in terms of the volume profile, in terms of the trend we've seen over the last month or so, I think that this could be an asset to watch tomorrow if we get some positive news out of the Fed.
Okay. CJ, give us your pick.
Theta is performing very well, and I like, at least in the short term, because when you guys talk, I think that Luna, I think AVAX, I think a lot of the undervalued utility chains, as well as the lending platforms like Aave, I do think they are undervalued and will trend very bullish towards the end of the year, say November and December. I think that will be a great couple months for many assets in the market like that. But in the short term, talking like towards the end of the week, intraday, what we're seeing on Theta is pretty bullish. Anytime we get much larger, broader sell-offs in the market, I like to try and locate the assets that are actually remaining resilient amongst a broader market sell-off, because typically when the market reverses, or if we are to get some bullish momentum in Bitcoin and ETH and the major players, then those assets that have remained resilient will pretty much rally once market conditions reverse. And, I like what we're seeing on Theta. Very nice bullish hammer candle at the bottom of this downtrend. I think that we're poised for a reaction rally up to $6.70, right on that smooth moving average. At that particular point, might take a little bit of profit or just see how price reacts. But overall, that is one that I like a lot in the short term.
Yeah, well, Theta, you just pulled up that chart, and Theta was it's up 23% for the trailing 30 days. But I believe what you showed was actually Theta is about 100% up from July prices. So that's an amazing thing. Now, do you have the same sentiment with T-Fuel, or is it just for Theta, CJ?
T-Fuel is performing very well also. Let me just pull up the chart. Yeah, I mean, they're trading pretty similar. I mean, they're in lockstep. So yeah, either of those I think are good plays going into the end of the week.
All right, very cool. And then one final thing, parting wisdom for the people who are sweating bullets right now. I have no fear, by the way. I love what's happened the last 2 days as far as an opportunity. I'm feeling very bullish for the remainder of the calendar year. So for me, it was great to have dry powder on the sidelines to pick up some things that I really, wanted to add to. With you guys, to the folks that are freaking out with sweaty palms right now, what would you say for the next couple of days that they should do from a mindset? Let's just talk from a trading mindset or an investor mindset.
I think it's important to understand what's going on and not just be reactive to particular situations or emotional sell-offs. I think that I'm not telling anybody what to do or saying financial advice, but sitting through these liquidations. I mean, even last night, watching the red candles continuously form over a 2-3 hour period, like it's you feel physical pain, but that's normal. No, I'm serious. Like If you study, neurotransmitters and financial risk taking, it's the same pain that you would get, after like being sore or working out or something like that. Getting a little off topic, but the point is that pain that you're feeling is normal, and it's a natural reaction that your body's going to give you as a trader. So we can just understand it objectively. You can understand nothing really has changed fundamentally for Bitcoin. We might be in for a little bit of a correction here in the equity market, which could put pressure on Bitcoin because people are going into the dollar. Nonetheless, I still think we have a bullish outlook going into end of year. I think that we're going to have a lot of clarity brought to the equity markets tomorrow as a result of this Fed meeting. But until then, kind of just got to remain unemotional and sit on our hands and hope for the best. Or not hope. You don't want to hope. Hoping is bad in trading, but so on and so forth.
Monte, your parting wisdom, sir.
Yeah, no, I agree with CJ. Don't get too emotional. Don't let the fear of the global markets, seep into your Bitcoin trading here. I think that if you take a step back and look at Bitcoin and the crypto market in general, how far it's come this year, how far it's come in the last 4 years, it can really help to zoom out. And I think it speaks to Bitcoin's potential to close this year and Bitcoin's potential, over the next decade. So I think that, there is fear in the markets now, but you can see this as an opportunity, like Meg says in the comments. I think that there are going to be some tremendous opportunities tomorrow. And I still think that Bitcoin's trend to 100K by end of year is holding up. I mean, it's jumped over some pretty significant hurdles over the last couple months here and has held up its price above 40K. So I'm encouraged. I think that end of year is going to be very positive in terms of price action. We just got to make it through these last couple days of uncertainty here.
Sounds good, guys. Well, we know it happens every Monday at least, but we had a few events that added to it. So, guys, thank you all for joining us. CJ, Monte, always love spending the midday with you guys and talking to markets. Just think about those leverage trades that you guys may be thinking about entering or have entered, and just, be careful out there with that. And definitely, if you can't afford it, don't mortgage your house. Okay, some of these comments are about borrowing and stuff. That is financial advice. Do not borrow money to go pay for investments. That being said, guys, hang on to your handlebars. Clean off those sweaty palms. We're still good. We're really good. So let's keep the chin up, and we will see you guys tomorrow. All right.